Yo, what up? Back to making videos. I took kind of a semi-vacation last week. I was here for Market Open, but my wife and daughter are visiting a friend, and I have the place to myself for the first time in 2 years. So I was like, you know what? It was a slower market. I was taking it easy, but now that that's out of the way, come back to making videos. Heard people put like questions about some of my losses or trades that didn't work. I want to show XBP really fast. I think this is a good example. I'm always trying to analyze these trades, not only like, for example, a long that didn't work, but a long that led to a big move to the downside, right? Like, what was the issue with the thinking? Should I not be long up here? I did short. The other part of the video will be SGE. I'm in that trade. I'm still on the trade. I think just going sideways. But yeah, XBP. So I do these weekly reviews from my Discord. I have a Discord, trading Discord, that's attached to my Patreon. It's down in the description if you want to learn about it. But I do these weekly reviews, and I was like, you know what? I noticed a lot of the shorts will have bullish signals near the top, right? And it might even have a potentially bullish Bookmap near the top. But I keep missing on all these big fades, man. And I realize a major component, which is something I've mentioned in videos before, but I'm starting to put more weight towards it, is how aggressive the move is, right? How did the stock, not just the gapping percentage, but how did the stock get to that gapping percentage, right? And the one thing I always noticed was the more aggressive the move is, a lot of times it's like a 1 minute 9, 1 minute 20 situation, the more likely you'll get long trap price action at the top, and the more likely you'll have fades to the downside. Now, this example of, I got pulled in by what I thought was a potential short trap, right? So, we have high day here. We have a lower high paint, right? And a lot of times these, I wouldn't even blame anybody for shorting this candle right here. This is like your classic hyper aggressive bounce off the pullback. A lot of times these could be weak. These, I think EBS last week had a good example of this, where it had a parabolic, quick pullback, aggressive push, and a lot of times the more aggressive this pushes, the better the short. And you'll see that with my SGE short. I took a very similar SGE short, but I saw this lower high paint. I saw the 1 minute 50 catch up, and what they did was really interesting. Was there's a bunch of bids. I'll show you on the book. They swiped the bids, and then when they started initiating this, they started restacking it, right? So I saw that restack. I went long. You can actually see it here, but the problem with longing these tickers, here's the big up only move, right? And you'll see this in weaker markets. You'll see this on stocks that are more extended, right? Have given, for example, SGE, we'll go over that. But what you'll see, here's the price action. Here's the 1 minute 50 tap. Here's the bids getting filled. And then it started rotating with this bid. And I saw this bid, and I saw the lower high paint, and I was like, oh man, this looks really bullish. And I saw how fast, the tape was getting really fast. I'm like, oh man, I think they're initiating off the 1 minute 50. Let me go long. But the major risk you have with any long, one of the biggest lessons I would ever say, and this is where Bookmap becomes extremely important when going longs. Say you have a signal like this, is always pay attention to how the bids follow the stock up, and especially if the bids get pulled, right? Because the last thing you want to see when you're long is an empty order book on the bids, followed by any type of stalling. Stalling is not good. If they're going to do this type of trick where they're pulling the bid at the top, it's a push towards high day, but it hasn't broken high day, right? This has to go almost immediately, right? I expect, this type of move to be hyper aggressive. And the more it stalls, and the more they pull bids, and the more they don't follow up with more bids, this is always, it always has potential for stuff like this, right? So here they did the classic little trick here where they stacked this ask right below high day. They pushed it. You can even really zoom in. and you could see the bids getting pulled that initially supported this push, and they pulled it. And a lot of times, if we go back to the chart on this, a few people in my room were short this, and I was like, oh, that's great, because a lot of times long traps right before market open can be very weak. It can make market open super heavy. But at the same time, we have this massive high day paint, right? We have all these lower highs at high day here. I'm like, hey, once market open happens, just pay attention to the book, see how the asks are being stacked, see how the bids are being stacked, right? So let's go to market open. Market open happened right here, and there was a good amount of ask to the upside, right? And it was kind of ambiguous because there was a lot of ask, a lot of bids. They just sold into these bids, had one bounce off the 1 minute 200, and then look at that book. Look at the book on the push. Like, not only is there like 8 layers of ask up here, but minimal bid follow-up, right? Minimal bid follow-up, tons of ask. I mean, this is what if you were short from earlier in the day, it's what you want to see. I didn't get short here. I was kind of hoping it would maybe push a little higher, but it just went down only. But yeah. So I did want to show me of a trade. I always take some off. You always, the reason you take some off here is because of the lack of bid follow-up, really. If I'm long something and I get initiation towards some key liquidity level, right? I'm also trying to think of what would the short be, and at least sell some where the short would likely to work, right? And which a lot of times it means stalling under high day. You'll see me take some profits, and then I got knifed, and then I stopped trading it. And then the other was SGE? SGE. Oh no, I'm trying to open it. SGE. Let's see. So here's again a very similar idea. So of course we got the super hyper aggressive market open squeeze, right? Like I said, the more aggressive something is to the upside, a lot of times the less support there is when pulling back, right? So I'm looking for, again, I don't really short out of up halts here. I'm not shorting in this high day clear out here. That's not really my type of short. I'd rather wait for a pullback. In this case, what was it? The 1 minute 50. This is literally the 1 minute 50 pullback. Hyper aggressive move, kind of like EBS last week. I remember this EPS trade working last week. I didn't take that short on EBS, but I remember it working. And it's had a nice book, right? So what do we see on the book on SGE there? Let's see, and this is kind of good. Probably a big reason why this is going sideways, by the way, guys, is they keep putting a bunch of bids. They keep knifing it, and they keep stacking bids lower, which is annoying. But here is that 2.9 push. Some stuff I liked about it was they did the classic little trick where they filled a bunch of ask, especially a bunch of new ask. When a bunch of new ask showed up, the bid that pushed us up got pulled. So now we're getting, and also we had the up only move from market open, right? We have ask getting filled. I like that it started pushing towards 3, right? 3 was a major liquidity level from the up halt earlier. So closer gets the high data better. Ask getting filled, that's nice. Bids getting pulled, that's nice. Stalling, you could see new ask coming in. 3 getting refreshed. It was really nice. So I took the short in the 290s. And then getting back to covers, I covered down here. I should probably just show you on here. Because of the quick pullback to the 1 minute 50. So I was looking at the 1 minute 50. I was looking at any type of bids, any type of soaking. And I just wanted to take some off there just because I know that's, if the bullish thesis would be lower high, $3 paint in rotation, right? Now, this is like the more interesting part because most of the time I would have absolutely stopped myself out on the 3 break here. I would just assume, that if 3 got broken here, it would just go up, right? Because we got this manipulated stock doing crazy up halt stuff, right? And this is essentially a long trap becoming a short trap, right? So usually I would be super cautious there. But one thing I noticed about I've been studying my high day clearouts on the book And I think we had a really nice one last week. Let me look that up. We had a super nice high day clear out last week, and I didn't have shares of it because it was too ALLR. ALLR had the same book as this for the high day clear out, and again, we get this aggressive move off the 1 minute 50. It's a complete lack of bids. Complete lack of bids after a hyper aggressive push, just like we saw in XBP. Definitely has long trap potential. And then the ask, on the ask side of things, we saw, look at all these orders that came in. Like I saw them stacking more and more orders under high day. So because I took some off on the 1 minute 50 down here, I had a bit of a buffer to be like, hey, let me try holding through this because this kind of looks like a classic high day clear out book structure. Lack of book, lack of bids, aggressive move, fill the ask, high day clear out. And you can see how fast it was, right? About 5 seconds they pull it. Actually, no, 2-3 seconds they pull it. But yeah, I thought that was great. And I was like, okay, cool. Let me hold on through that. I was prepared. Ultimately, I was prepared. If this started pushing like 330s or something, I would have got out. But I did want to approach that differently than I normally would, just because of the book. And then we go back to the chart. And one big thing I want to say about this is that I think an important skill to have as a trader, and this is something that took me like 4 or 5 years to develop, is knowing when to switch from kind of market open volatility to midday volatility, right? Because I think as day traders, we always get sucked into the big moves, right? Especially in the pre-market and market open, right? There's all these crazy moves happening in the pre-market and market open. You get 5-minute walk down followed by double up halt, 100% push. We're so used to that it's very easy to carry that mentality over as it gets later and later in the day. And you can see the kind of the volatility still there. 15-minute walk down, volatility, knife down to the 1 minute 50, rotation. You get that volatility. But after this high day clear out happened, another thing I mentioned in my Sunday review videos for the Patreon is, a lot of times, like if we go down here, like it starts trading 1 million shares a minute, possible VWAP bounces right off like the 1 minute 20 and initiates, right? So when you're early in the move, a lot of these like 1 minute 20, 1 minute 50 taps can, if you think the volume's there and if you think the pre-market, by the way, look how walked down this was, the pre-market, super controlled walk down, massive squeeze, right? So I'm saying like a lot of these bottomed out names have the greatest potential for pushes like this, especially if they're heavily walked down like this. Few people in the room hit it long too. I did not though. Shout out to Mikey Underdog for hitting this. But anyways, once you start getting past the initial liquidity squeeze that catches everyone off guard, a lot of times, like this 1 minute 50 pullback worked, but now you're getting, this is like the first 1 minute 50 pullback, the second 1 minute 50 pullback. Now you're getting a third one, and you could see it initiate. Got some initiation here, got some initiation here. Didn't go anywhere. And when I saw this early on, I was like, guys, even if this high day clear out is going to be a short trap, midday high day clear out short traps, if you study how long it usually takes for them to squeeze, it's like you have to get out of that market open mentality, right? You like everyone just expects an instant tap and an instant push, right? Especially when it's been doing that type of volatility, for the past hour and a half, right? You're so used to, your brain, that's how the market tricks you. Your brain is so used to the volatility that you always expect it to continue, right? And the truth is, the farther and farther we get away from market open, the more and more very bearish liquidity moves we have, right? As we start to get 10, 30, the less likely those quick moves are likely to happen. Now, this is interesting. Like, by the way, I'll probably cover some more, but this is really interesting. We do have some lower high paint. And we might get an end-of-day push on it, or even an after-hours push. Probably cover some more. But yeah, I thought this was interesting, that Once you switch to midday time frames, you just have to view patterns. And this will save you a lot of mental capital, by the way. Like, if you decide, hey, I think this is going into midday grind mode, right? The main thing you just have to pay attention to are the tops and the bottoms of the range, right? What are the lower highs? What do they look like, right? What do the lower highs look like? What does the bid support look like? Are there lower highs? Are there higher lows? And then really stretch out the amount of time it takes to make things happen, right? Like, I'm not even surprised that this move just produced another lower high, right? Especially midday. Like, for example, this is really common, right? We got a walk down to VWAP, VWAP walk down, initiation. A lot of these initiations, midday, if we go to the book here, a lot of these initiations do not have a bid on them. They don't, or they have like a bid that holds initially and then gets taken out. So, like, for example, like here's a VWAP walk down, right? Soaking a bunch of on the bids, soaking. Big VWAP initiation. What do we know about this? There's no bids on it, right? And right here, they stacked some new ask. Half of that ask got filled, and they knifed it back down, right? And then it starts bouncing around, and then that VWAP support that everyone's risking ends up getting broken through, right? So that's very common. Very common midday type of price action when they haven't built enough liquidity to push it. Look at, like, they're finally potentially squeezing this right now. And it took them, this high declare out happened at 10:55 a.m. It's 3:30 market time. So yeah. Anyways, same idea here. Same idea. I saw you might think I might have shorted this push. I actually didn't. Should have added. But a couple major things about this push right here. Hyper aggressive move. You got to look at the bid structure on these hyper aggressive moves. Pull back to the 1 minute 50, and then this push. So what do we know about backside pushes? What do we know about candles that tend to do this midday, right? Two things: lack of bid support, asks getting filled to the upside before pulling it, right? So let's go all the way to that key moment. And keep in mind, 2.9, the reason you would want to wait for this candle, by the way, is that the lower highs, if you look left, the lower highs are all at 2.85, 2.89, 2.9, right? So you want any type of backside push to get to that liquidity level, right? Because that's, especially if they're doing backside games, right? So we go here. Here's that aggressive move. No bid support. Tightly controlled, tightly controlled, tightly controlled. Here's the initiation. And if we zoom in, look what they did. We zoom in right before they broke this 275, because it was kind of hovering below 275. They stacked a bunch of ask right here, and they all got filled sub 290. So it actually didn't even swipe 290. It looks like it did, but it actually, if you zoom in, it only reached it reached 290 for a little bit, and then you could see bids getting pulled lower, So there's one bidder, mostly empty. So top of the long trap move, super empty book, and then it just starts to stall and knife, right? And then they keep throwing. This is why it keeps not fading, guys. They keep throwing these bids down here. So who knows how this is going to end up, working out? Kind of looks like they want to make an end of day AH move. Didn't really produce a big fade, but I am pretty happy about holding through the high declare out. This was definitely an interesting move here. This is your classic backside move. I really thought after this move happened, we'd have a decent amount of continuation, maybe down to the 220s or low twos, but it's not meant to be. They keep throwing up bids and they keep pushing it sideways. So what can I do? Can't do anything. So anyways, that's the video for today. XBP loss and a SGE trade that was very interesting. Took some profit, but is currently going sideways. So anyways, that's it for today. Gonna be back on the daily video grind. Information down below about the Discord. Check it out. See you guys tomorrow.